What have I been doing the last 2 weeks? Yeah, it's been a while. Well, head shells, carts and head shells. Let's go. Thanks for joining. You have found your way over to the Modest Audiophile channel. My name is Mark, and today, we're going to talk about cartridges and head shells and needles and styli and all sorts of fun stuff, and hopefully I don't trip over myself continuously as I do this. It's a little out of my swim lane. But yes, it's been 2 weeks since my last video, and I've been listening to a lot of music, and really wanted to share with you a stylus upgrade that seems to be pretty popular out there, but not a lot of information about it, so that's why I'm going to do this video today. So as you may know, if you've been watching the channel, I have been running a Audio-Technica VM95ML cartridge right there, and I've been very happy with it. I've been very, very happy with it, actually. So why the change? Well, I guess the microline, that's what this the shank is. It's the microline. It lasts about 1,000 hours. I've been trying to figure out how long I've been running this. I've had it for about 2 years, and I've been listening to a lot of records over the last 2 years. So back of the napkin math, I was getting close to that 1,000-hour mark, and I wanted to make a change. I wanted to do an upgrade, I guess, and I had some points that had been accumulating on the credit card, so pull the trigger and do it. And the one I went with was staying in the family. I went with an Audio-Technica VM540ML. Okay, I'll show you more of this here in a little while. What we're going to do today is we're going to describe the differences between these two cartridges / head shells. We're going to talk about the pricing differences between the two. I did some decibel level checks with the old cartridge and the new cartridge. And what albums I picked, why I picked those albums, and then some general thoughts on what I'm hearing, and then get you out of here. All right? Alright, like I stated, I went from having the AT-VM95ML, and that right now on Audio-Technica's website, just for the cartridge itself, is going for $169. The step above that, and we'll get to the differences in the overall cart and the engine they call it, but there are some differences. The VM540ML is the one that I switched to, and that's going for $279. So $110 is what my math tells me. All right, but again, I went with the head shells as well. The head shells are a little bit different between the old one and the new one, and those price points were, for the VME95ML with the head shell, you can get it right now for $199. And if you wanted to go with the one that I just purchased, the VM540ML/H, designates with the head shell, is $299. So for that small amount of difference, I just assumed, let me get the head shell with the cart already mounted. I didn't want to break out the small screwdrivers or put the protractor out there. I just wanted everything easy peasy. So that's what I did. So let's talk about the differences here real quick. Mechanical differences. And I'm just reading this off the screen. So you've got the, we'll call it the 95 ml moving forward for the old one, and we'll go with the 540 ml for the new one, just to keep everything tight. All right, so the 95 ml uses a single coil design for each channel. So you've got two coils, right, with a moving magnet in the middle. The 540 ml it features a more robust dual coil design and shielding between the left and the right channels. And I'll put a picture here which hopefully will showcase the differences. All right, actually, why don't I just share my flipping screen? So, to the best of my ability, this is the differences that we'll showcase here. On the left here is the 95ML, the VME95ML, and the one on the right here is the new one, it's the VM540ML. As you can see, you've got a single, here's your moving magnet right here, the magnets are here, and you've got a coil per each channel. So one coil on the left, one coil on the right, and you move over to the new the 540ML that I just purchased, and again down here are your magnets. But the most important thing, well, there's two really important things here to notice. You've got 2 coils per channel for a total of 4. Okay, so instead of the overall 2 channels, 2 coils, 1 per channel on the old one, you've got 2 coils per channel for a total of 4 coils on the 540. But look at this piece right here in the middle. That is shielding in between the left and right channel, which you just didn't have over here. And yes, it does make a difference to my ears anyway. Again, a couple more differences to note is the 95ML has an output voltage of 3.5 millivolts. I guess that's what the designation. And the 540ML has a higher output voltage of 4.5 millivolts. And yes, the new cartridge is a little bit louder, and we'll hear that or show that in the decibel level checks. But I did get some surprises out of there as well. The new one, the 540ML, does offer better channel separation due to that dual coil design that we discussed. And as far as the overall sound characteristics, you have the exact same, in fact, I'll put it here. I believe you have the exact same stylus or shank. You've got I believe they're both, again, a square nude shank with the microlinear tip. So I think for simplicity, I think the actual needle itself, the piece of diamond, is the exact same on both carts. Getting a little bit down deeper into the groove than, say, an elliptical or like that VME95E that comes with the Audio-Technica LP120 turntables, right? The green one. I upgraded that years ago, and I went with the microline. And there was a huge difference between the green and the red, we'll just say. All right, moving forward. So we talked about the pricing, we talked about the differences mechanically, we're going to talk about the decibel level checks here in a second, and we might as well start with that now. All right, so I went with a couple different types of records that I wanted to showcase for this decibel level check, and they all had a little bit of differences in them. First one we're going to start with is Bob Dylan's Mobile Fidelity Blood on the Tracks. More to come on this. I actually have a review that I'm going to be doing next. So you'll see the same shirt. So I started with this. It was a brand new record. It's gonna sound like glass and all of that. So that's what I wanted to start with. So let's start with the first song, Tangled Up in Blue. On the 95ML, we had a low end of 72 decibels, a high end of 94 decibels for an average of 81 decibels. And then when I moved to the 540ML, I had a low end of 72 decibels, a high end of 95 decibels for an average of 83. So yes, very, very similar as far as the overall decibel levels go. We'll talk a little bit more of what I heard in the soundstage and all of that, but right now let's just talk about the decibels. So then I flipped it over to side 2, and I did Shelter from the Storm. On the old 95ML, it was a low end of 66, a high end of 87 for an average listening of 79 decibels. So for the 540ML, we had a low end of 67, a high of 89 for an average of 80 decibels. So again, very, very similar. Just a little bit of boost there, and that's about it. So that was what I got out of the Bob Dylan album. And then the next is I wanted to do was do this one. Another Mobile Fidelity. This one's T-Rex, right? Which one is this one called? This is called Electric Warrior. This is actually a 45 RPM, so I wanted to give that a shot as well. Also, this record is notorious for being cut, I think, really, really hot. It does have some sibilant issues, sibilance, right? That sound, if you're not familiar with it, right? If you get a high-end, if you get certain cymbal crashes, but mostly it's the vocals. If you get that shh or tss, that type of sound, it just becomes sibilant. If you've heard it, it's unmistakable. You know what I'm talking about. All right, so I put this one on, and I started with the song Jeepster. The low end was 63 decibels, high end of 89 decibels, for an average of 82 decibels, okay? And then when I put on the 540 ml, that turned into a low end of 66 dBs, high end of 95 dBs, for an average listening of 84 decibels. This is getting a little bit loud now, but I wanted to make sure that we kept everything the same. And my apologies for not stating it earlier. The volume on my Rotel integrated amp was set for 69 across the board for all of these. All right, so I kept everything the same. So the second song I did from this T-Rex album was Lean Woman Blues 1-2 Buckle My Shoe, for a low end of 59, a high end of 96, for an average of 82. And on the 540 ml, a low end of 57, high end of 99, for an average of 84. Now, this album is in your face. It is cut. I think the vocals are just cut really, really, really high. You can hear everything. Hell, I think you can hear Bolan's heart beating if you listen hard enough. So I really wanted to get that. I really wanted to get a better understanding if the stylus had anything, if it would change anything. Apart from telling you about the soundstage, we'll get to that in a few minutes, but I will say the sibilance was still there, but it was not as prevalent. Interesting. So the new cart, the 540 ml, cut down on the sibilance a little bit. Now, both carts sound outstanding. The sibilance that's there, or sibilant, I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, but anyway, it's not to the point where you can't listen to the album. It's an extremely enjoyable album. Someday, maybe I'll do a review on this thing. Excellent, in-your-face rock, and again, the new stylus cut down the sibilance a little bit, so that was cool. All right, so we did a brand new record, 33 RPM with Bob Dylan. We did this 45 RPM, another fairly newish record that I own. Then I wanted to change it up, and I wanted to go with an outstanding sounding album. In fact, I did a review on this thing last year, I think. Check it out here. This is a original copy, 1982, Love Over Gold. Is it perfect? No, it's got a little bit of surface noise, but certainly not when the music's playing. So I wanted to make sure that I did a test on this. And we started with Telegraph Road, all right? You had a low end of 43 decibels, a high end of 95 dBs, for an average of 73. Once again, that was with the 95 ml cart, the older cart. 43, 73, 95. The new cart, the 540 ml, that had a low end of 44 decibels, high end of 100 decibels, for an average of 81, okay? Now, I didn't even notice it hit 100, to be honest with you. There was no ear fatigue here. I wasn't getting blasted out of my room or anything. In generally speaking, though, I like to listen to my albums somewhere between, as an average listening. Really don't like to get higher than 85. Try to stay around 80, 81-ish. But anyway, so yeah, the differences here were you had a little bit higher high end from 95 to 100 decibels. But the average listening was quite a bit different. So you went from an average of 73 on the old one to an average of 81 on the new one. We did Industrial Disease, which was next. It's me. Industrial Disease next. And that had a low end of 44. Again, this is with the old stylus, the 95 ml. This is a low end of 44 dBs, high end of 95 dBs, for an average listening of 84 dBs. Moving on to the 540 ml, we have a low end of 46 decibels, a high end of 103 for an average of 85. That's about the extreme that I want to listen to this music, but I will say, as loud as it got, this thing was effing glorious. Oh my gosh, this thing was killer. Killer. Sounds great on the old stylus for sure. Really, really, really good. Go look at that review. But on this new stylus, oh my gosh, this thing was incredible. All right, so that's that. Hey everybody, I just want to say thanks. Thanks for showing up. I really appreciate it. If this is your first time here, yeah, take a look around. I've got over, I don't know, pushing 60 videos now over the last year. You may find something you like. Most of it is different record reviews. This equipment stuff is a little bit out of my swim lane, but give it a shot anyway. If you really want to support the channel and you don't want to dig into your pockets except for some Monopoly money, hey, go down there and hit subscribe. That would really help me out. You know what? Down the road, if you forget about me, you can always take it away later, okay? Thank you so much, and let's get back to more of head shells and cartridges. Ooh. All right, so those were the decibel level checks. Now, as we get into how this thing sounds, the soundstage, and the overall imaging, there were a couple other records that I wanted to listen to. These are kind of my go-to records every time I change something in my system. I'm going to notice it first with these particular pressings. So the first one here is the Rumors, right? Fleetwood Mac Rumors. This one actually is the 45 RPM by Analog Productions. Came out maybe last year or the year before. I did a review on this one. Check it out here. Sounds outstanding. This is where I had the aha moment. You know, light bulbs flashed, harps were being played. There was an angelic chorus playing behind me. Yeah, this is my aha moment. The space in the room, the soundstage, right? And I listen with my eyes closed so I can absorb as much of that soundstage as I can. Everything felt different. Dreams in particular. Got onto the second song, everything felt different. And that's how I will put it. Felt it as opposed to heard it. It's the same song, right? But it felt different. It was so cool. The space within your soundstage was all different. I'm starting to hear, yeah, you'd hear panning from left to right or front to aft. I don't know my nautical terms. But that's all there. But what I was hearing for the first time that was different was I was hearing panning going from, let's say, in the back of the left-hand side of the soundstage, and instead of staying in the back and going to the right-hand side of the soundstage. No, it was actually very subtle, but it was panning in two directions at the same time. I hadn't heard that before. Very, very cool. I feel that you have more texture and weight, mass behind this image. Where, you know, I've said it before in other images, okay, you're going from, you know, to put it in visual sense, you're going from 720p to 1080, right, for TVs. You're going from 1080 to 4K. It was tangible. It was in your mind's eye. You can see all the textures. I know, sounds crazy, but that's the best way that I can try to articulate this. There was so much change, subtle change, but change enough where I was hearing things that I'd never heard before. Really amazed me. So then I don't have this, I left a record over there, but then I popped on my 50th anniversary of Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young's Deja Vu, and listening to the title track, Deja Vu. Again, another album that I'm very, very accustomed to. And everything just seemed more spread out. There was more room in and amongst the individual instruments and vocals where in your mind's eye you could stand up and again walk around this space, and there was more space in between all of the instruments. Yeah, that's it. So let's get to the soundstage in general. The soundstage on the 95ML on my system is great. With the new stylus, the 540ML, it's maybe a little bit bigger, maybe. And again, these albums here, I'm getting 5+ feet left to right of the speakers. I'm getting a soundstage height that's coming in above the ceiling. All these records that I've just showed you, outstanding sound stages. But I think what I'm getting is more information, certainly within the center of the image, right? But I think I'm getting more information at the edges of the soundstage as well, the left and right and top and bottom. And I'm definitely getting more depth. Definitely getting more depth with the new stylus. Not by a magnitude of 10 or anything, but again, I'm getting more depth or more articulation in the depth, I think is more realistic way to say that. All right, so then what I wound up doing is I put on Who's Next? This is the Abbey Road Half-Speed Master, which I do want to do a video someday comparing this to another copy, which this is far superior. But anyway, I put this one on and I listened to, well, we'll talk about the song Getting in Tune in a second. But overall, this stylus gave me a whole new perspective on this album. It's the easiest way for me to say that. A whole new perspective on the album, yeah. And in fact, the song Getting in Tune, it was like hearing it for the very first time again, right? That's what we're all here for. That's what makes it worth. That's what makes it worth it to go from the old stylus to this stylus. If I'm hearing stuff that sounds like the very first time again, outstanding. So at the end of the day, did I get value for this? Yeah, I think so. I mean, you're going to have to change out a stylus anyway after you run it for a while, right? So I was getting upwards of about 1,000 hours on this thing. Now, I'm still going to use this thing quite often, actually. I'm going to use it on my used records for the very first time. Although I'll clean them in the Humming Guru. If they're a little banged up, I'm going to still use the old 95ML. Outstanding soundstage, outstanding image. Really, really like this thing. But for an extra $100, it's not an insignificant amount of money, especially this day and age. But for an extra $100, you're going to get a new head shell, the cartridge already mounted on that head shell. So all you have to do is slap it on your system. Is it worth it? Yeah, it really is. And I was surprised. A buddy of mine asked me, so how's it going over there? I said, I'm really surprised. I mean, I thought that there'd be a difference. I thought things would be a little bit sharper. I thought the image would be a little bit better. What I was not, let me repeat, what I was not thinking, I don't know how I want to say this, what I was not expecting was an absolute change in the time-space continuum. What I was not expecting was the actual difference in the sound stage, in my listening space, my room here. Everything was different. And that was jarring at first. It really was. I did not expect. Again, you close your eyes and you get accustomed to your records and what that sound stage is going to feel like, look like, right, left to right, top to bottom, depth perception within the sound stage. But I was not thinking that I would get a sense of a completely different listening space, like I was in a different room. I guess that's the biggest thing. By moving to this new cart, it was like I was listening to my records in a completely different room, yeah, with different treatments and different shapes and all of that stuff. I did not expect that. That was huge and that was great. And it's addiction. It's addicting, right? It's wow. I'm getting more and more and more out of it. I can only imagine. Now this is on a modest setup, everybody. So again, I'm doing all of this on a 14-year-old Audio-Technica LP120 turntable. I think at the time, 14 years ago, maybe it was $350. Maybe a little bit less than that now, I'm not sure. But it is a very modest turntable. Now, this being 2025, this is the year of, I'm doing some upgrades across the board, and I'll do another video on that. I will be upgrading my turntable later this year. But for right now, my gosh, this new head shell and stylus cartridge really, really shocked me. And for an extra $100, I think it's worth it. And that's really what I wanted to share with you. If you were on the fence and you've got the AT-95ML, let me see if I get that right. If you've got the AT-VM95ML and it's getting long in the tooth and you've been very happy with it, you're not quite sure what to do next, well, I wanted to keep it simple. I wanted to stay within the family just because it was easy for me, and I wanted to make sure I got something sent to me that was already attached to a head shell. So all I had to do was screw in the new one. Yeah, for a difference of $100. Again, a whole new listening room. It's glorious. And that's it, everybody. That's what I wanted to share with you today. That's what I've been doing for the last 2 weeks. I've been listening to a crap ton of records, and I am actually excited. I'm going to do a review here right after I get done with this one, and hopefully get it up shortly after I get the editing done. And that's going to be Bob Dylan's Blood on the Tracks, the new Mobile Fidelity's 2025 repress. Oh, what a freaking album that is. That's it, everybody. Take care. Thank you so much, and I'll see you on the next one, all right? Bye.